Hey guys, welcome back to Al's Fish Tales. Now let's get something out of the way up front. My tanks are not the right size for this wave maker, but I think that's what's going to make this test so interesting. Now this thing is actually made for 55 to 70 gallon tanks, which is somewhere around 200 to 300 liters. Now, obviously I don't have a 70 gallon tank. I do have my 13.5 Sea Evo and then a cheap 10 gallon tank. So we've got a variety of tests we're gonna do and just see how this thing performs in each one, because I'm very curious. Now I'm using the 18 watt wave maker, and this thing will move about 1,850 gallons per hour, or like 7,000 liters. So it's still quite a lot of movement, even for an 18 watt. Now, if you decide that you end up liking this thing after the video, you can use the code ALSFishTales on Hygger's website and get 10% off any of their products with free shipping in the USA. You can find all that information down below. The controller has a night sensor, and then it's got 4 different wave settings. You can adjust the flow, you can adjust all that, and it has a feeding setting. Just remember that my tank has never had a wave maker in it, so this thing is definitely going to stir up a lot of detritus and debris that's been sitting in my tank. I'm going to turn this thing on, and I'm only going to run it at the lowest setting. I plugged it in for just a second and it's already stirred up a little bit, but we're going to go for the full test now and actually leave it on. Just remember guys, this is for a much larger tank, but just out of curiosity, I will be the guinea pig and we will find out what happens when you put a big wave maker into a nano reef tank. So you can see it's stirring up a ton of detritus and gunk in there. It does have 3 adjustable settings. Now you can tell obviously the way the clownfish are swimming that this thing is way too powerful. You can see the NIM is starting to close up now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off and everything settles back down. But look at all the debris and detritus, and there's some dead bubble algae floating around in there. I mean, that is crazy. So that just goes to show that a wave maker can make a lot of difference in actually helping keep your tank clean, because obviously you wouldn't want to use this specific model in there, but Hygger does make smaller ones that you can put in your tank, which I'll probably get next to put in this, because that's crazy. That's a lot of stuff that's getting trapped in your substrate. I have Nacerius snails in there that are turning it over, but obviously, you know, there's so much stuff on the bottom that gets trapped down there that you need to get up. Being that my aquascape back here is a 17.5 gallon, I don't want to suck my cardinal tetras into that, so I think I'm going to skip out on that one. But what I will do is go over to this 10 gallon back here, which has some goldfish in it. And what I'm going to do is take the goldfish out of that, but we'll put it in there and see what happens. This is going to be really crazy. Something else I like about this is that it comes with this little filter you can put over it. Keeps all your trash and gunk out of it, or might protect some invert or something from getting in there. Now I'm gonna go and take this to the bathtub and give it a good rinse with some fresh water before I go sticking it in the next tank. All right guys, it's time for test 2. Now this is the overkill test. This is a 10 gallon tank, just a cheap one from Walmart. I'm gonna take the fish out of it because if not, they would become blended. All right guys, this is the overkill test. Let's see if I can simulate a tropical storm. We're gonna put this on the lowest setting first and see what happens. 3, 2, 1. Oh boy. Holy cow. Look at all the detritus and junk getting sucked up in there. Holy smokes, look at this. This is on wave setting 1. Now we're gonna switch it to a random wave. Now check this out, because this is several inches down. Now Hygger recommends 3 inches, but even being that far down on the lowest flow setting, it's making a really, really strong current, but it's not overpowering this like I thought it would. All right, so I've just switched it to a classic wave setting. Now remember, this is still on the lowest flow mode. Look at how much has been sucked up around that filter. So what I'm gonna do really quick, I'm going to aim it upwards and just see how it affects it. So I've now got it tilting upwards. This is still on classic wave on the lowest flow. Let's push this thing a little further. Okay, let's go up to 10. Now this goes up to 20. So we're only at halfway, and this thing is, it's literally a tropical storm in here. These snails are like, what are you doing, man? Okay, let's push it to 20 for 1 second and just see what happens. There it is on 20. Tons and tons of water movement. Okay, let's bump it down. Let's do sine wave. What's crazy too is how quiet this thing is. Silent but deadly to detritus. You know, some of it's probably coming off the sponge filter, but a lot of that was sitting on the bottom. Now let's take a look at one more setting on here, guys, that I haven't mentioned, and that's the feed setting. So when you do that, it totally stops. You can actually adjust the time that you want to feed, and it'll kick off. So it's not gonna run now for 60 minutes. So that's a pretty cool setting. All right, I think that's gonna be enough for our tropical storm test. Let's go ahead and move on now. Let's go ahead and dump these guys back in here. Ever so gently onto a nice pillow. Get out of there. All right. Don't worry, I'm not gonna suck you guys up. I'm just so impressed by how well that performed in there. It actually didn't overpower it, which makes me think that in certain applications, I'm not saying with fish, but in certain applications with plants or maybe something else, I don't know. But this could be good in a small tank if you're wanting to stir up things and keep things moving. Maybe you have some kind of plant that breeds better with higher flow, and I don't know what that would be, but for all I know, this would do well. But this actually makes me think that this wave maker could be ideal for multiple applications, not just your 55 to 70 gallon. You could probably use it for something like this, for stirring up your detritus and keeping things moving around at a higher rate than you may want with a smaller wave maker. Now, if you're wondering about how strong this magnet is, it is extremely strong, strong enough to hold up all of your grandmother's magnets on the fridge. You definitely don't want to get your finger caught in between there, because I'm telling you, that thing is powerful. So if you're worried about the magnet strength, you are not going to have any issues no matter what the thickness is of your glass. That is crazy. I love that the impeller design of this has like a nice red look to it. The quality of it feels nice and heavy. It's not like a cheap plasticky, you know, it feels quality, it feels firm, and I like that. A lot of products you get now, they just feel cheap and janky. This does not feel that way. Let's talk about this tank. Now you're probably like, what in the world do you have going on here? And I know it's strange to have these two fish together in this tank, and also this tank is way too small for them. This is a 40-gallon tank. It's a temporary tank, okay? These guys are just in here because at my last house, I raised these guys since they were that big together when I first got into fish keeping at a pond that I made at my last house. They're in here at my new house until I get that pond cycled and everything's good to go. Still working on some landscaping and some other issues with the pond. I just don't want to put them out there until I'm 100% sure that that pond is not going to have any leaks or anything crazy happen to it. So until then, that's what the other goldfish are for. They were my test guinea pigs, and I had to take them out actually because I had something happen. So that's why they're in here. I hope that explains that. Don't hate me in the comments. It's just temporary. But I think even in addition to this pump and filter here, this wave maker is going to stay in here because it's going to give them a lot more flow that they probably prefer over this little thing. Now this does provide a lot of flow, but I'm going to kill it for this video and we're going to turn this thing on, and I'll probably end up leaving this in there in addition to that and leave this on a lower setting. But let's see how it does. I'm really curious. All right, they're checking it out. Let's plug it in and see what happens. All right, it's on. Holy cow, it is so quiet. It is insanely quiet. You don't even know it's on. You can see the comic goldfish there kind of getting pushed a little bit. Let's go to a different wave setting. So classic wave is on, and you can actually, see if I can show you guys this. It's kind of hard to see, but the water, even being pointed straight forward, you might be able to see it in here, is actually making that kind of classic ripple you see when you're in a river or something. You can kind of see it there. It's very subtle, but it's really nice. Let's kick it upwards and see. Let's point it upwards. We're also probably an inch below what it recommends. Ah, there we go. That's amazing. You can, let me push the light back here. These are also Hygger's 24/7 lights, guys. If you didn't know, these are amazing lights. You can still use that discount code actually to get these. But these, you turn these lights on, you set them to the time, and they slowly come on, they slowly go off. They're amazing lights. So make sure you use that discount code OwlsFishTales on their website, get 10% off. Look at that, that's amazing. Let's change the wave up. Well, I just dropped it and it's still working. So I give it a 10 out of 10 on the durability test. That's actually like the third time I've dropped it. All right, let's go to sine wave. This one is interesting. This one looks more like what you'd see when water kind of displaces around like a rock in a creek. That's kind of how I picture this one. It's very noticeable, and it's so quiet. You literally, hold on, I'm not gonna say anything. You hear nothing. There's no sound coming from this at all. The only sound I hear is my loud pumps over there and my Reef Tank hospital tank. Otherwise, there is zero sound coming from this thing. It's amazing. All right, let's go to the next option. All right, I realized something a second ago. I messed this thing up because I was sticking it in a dark place, and when I do, it goes back to constant wave. I forgot it has the night sensor on it. So make sure you're setting this thing up, make sure you're putting it where it needs to be. Now this is on random wave mode, and you can set it to different frequencies so it changes however much you want. And look at this, it is creating a vast difference in the topwater agitation of this tank. Now this is interesting. Now this could keep your fish entertained from having that boring, stagnant water. This is gonna feel so much more natural. It's so quiet. And what I really like, this is a really sandy bed, okay? Whenever I put this tank together, I was trying to make it as natural as possible. So I went to, my uncle has a really nice creek at his house, and I picked up some things from there and used them in here. And this substrate is really, really dusty. Like, watch how easy, when I touch this, see how much dust comes up? This substrate is very dusty. The fact it's not kicking up a lot of dust and debris from the bottom, even being, you know, closer to halfway down the tank, that's a really, really good thing. So you don't have to worry about sucking up sand and stuff into your impeller, because that can cause a lot of damage to them. Same with the pumps. And goldfish, by the way, are really bad about that. They're like cows. They graze all day. They go around turning up the substrate. And this pump gets clogged up constantly. Actually, I have to clean it about every 3 days. So for the next test, I think what I want to do, I'm going to leave it on that, but I want to bump this thing up to 20, and let's see what it does on constant wave. Let's see what happens here. So we're on 20 now on constant. So this is as high powered as it gets. Now mind you guys, this thing is halfway down the tank, but let's try to move it up the glass and see how much of a difference it makes. So you can see we're about an inch or two below the surface of the water, and it's making really good agitation. That's gonna be great to keep your water oxygenated too. Look at the flow from that. That is nice. These guys are gonna love this. So let's go ahead and get a side by side with that and the other pump going. So now we have surface agitation, we've got different wave movement, we've got another filter going in here that's also oxygenating the water. These guys, at least temporarily, should be good to go in here now with all the surface agitation. It's like a mini river in here. It's fantastic. There's also two albino bristlenose plecos in here. They're hiding in their caves. I've got a male and a female. But look at the surface agitation right there. It's so much more natural than just the blowing bubbles straight out. Now it's actually getting a lot of topwater agitation. It's also stirring up a little bit more detritus, which will get filtered out. Now I think most of that has to do with the fact we just kicked on both of them. But this should make these guys much more happy and feel much more natural. And I'll put this light sensor in a place where it can shut off on its own during nighttime when those Hygger automatic lights go out. Probably gonna bump that down just a little bit more below the surface, just in case the water level drops a little bit. You can see the filter on it is already catching a bunch of debris that's getting tossed up in there. But I think for a temporary home for these guys, this is going to be perfect. It's really quite nice to see that ripple effect on top of the water like that, and knowing that it's just making them feel a little bit more natural right now until they can get back out into the pond. Now when it comes to maintenance, guys, the only thing you really need to do with this thing is pop it out and then run it under some water. You might hit it with a toothbrush or something to scrape it out. Very simple. I mean, taking it out takes 2 seconds. All the plugs and everything disconnect if you need to. There's one that has an O-ring in it. You just unthread it and then you pop the plug right out. It only goes in one way. I wish I would have known about the wave maker sooner, honestly, because I'm definitely going to be putting a small one in here to keep some of that detritus up off the ground and keep these guys happy. I'm just thinking about this for, I think it's less than $100, maybe like 60 or 70, pulling only 18 watts. I mean, it kind of punches above its class, I would think, because I've seen some really expensive wave makers out there. It's silent, it's strong, it's durable. I can feel the quality, like when you hold it, you just feel like it's not gonna break. The magnet on it is super solid. I feel like you could probably hang on the magnet, it's so strong actually. So those are the pros. The only con I have to say with it is the light sensor. Now there may be an option to turn it off, I'm not sure. It's a good thing to have obviously, but for some reason someone may want to turn it off. I'm not sure, there may be a switch to turn that off, I'm not positive. The buttons on it are maybe a little bit harder to press because they're kind of like, they're flat and they're like sensors maybe. I think I would have rather had some rigid buttons on it, but it's not a big deal. You can change it. It's just, it's kind of finicky. You have to kind of position your finger just right to press down on the buttons. I would have liked to have had raised buttons so that you could kind of feel where they're at, and especially if you're in kind of a dark room like I keep this room. So for me, this one's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it's gonna move freshwater or saltwater efficiently. The thing is super quiet, it makes no noise. I wouldn't call it like a daily driver per se, but if you're doing maintenance or, you know, like mixing salt water, this is gonna kind of do it all, if that makes sense. I'm thinking of some different scenarios. Like I said, you saw in the 10 gallon how well it did, and it didn't seem like overkill on the lowest setting. So there's got to be someone out there who could use this pump for that, and then maybe go and throw it in their 55 or 70, whatever. I'm just trying to think. I'm certainly not going to put it back in the nano reef tank. It's just too much flow for the corals and stuff for a nano. I do think in like a 20 to 30 gallon tank, you could make this pump work. And so just because of that, what we saw in the 10 gallon, what we saw in the 55, you got the possibility of mixing salt. Now I wouldn't go dropping this in your beta tank, or you can, I'm not your dad, but it's plenty powerful. It's kind of a good all-around wave maker. Like I said, the quality of it is just, when I first picked it up and I felt the weight of it, that is what sold me on it immediately. Just out of the box, you pick it up, you're like, holy cow, this thing is heavy. You just get so much cheap junk these days that it's nice to feel something that's actually durable. So I'm very happy with it. That's gonna be all, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, tap the subscribe button, and if you've ever blown a shrimp into orbit with a wave maker, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to read them. And hey, don't forget to use the code AlsFishtails on Hygger's website. You can get 10% off your order with free shipping in the USA. That's a pretty good deal. So I think the Hygger wave maker for reef tanks, freshwater tanks, whatever the case, I think it could be the one wave maker to rule them all. It's such a wide range of capabilities you can do with this thing. I know a lot of these tests are unrealistic, but I just wanted to see what it would do. I was kind of curious. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.